Good evening. My name is Sherry Dreves. I'm the Vice Chairperson for Planning and Zoning Commission, and I will be presiding over the Commission's deliberations on hearing items this evening. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Planning and Zoning Commission sits in the advisory capacity in the Town Council and reviews planning and zoning issues and forwards recommendations regarding these important issues to the Council. This evening's proceedings will be conducted using the following format. First, I will read the hearing application into record. Following the identification of the hearing application, staff will present their case and recommendations to the Commission, after which questions from the Planning and Zoning Commission will be directed to staff regarding the case. After the Commission initially reviews the application, the floor will be open to comments, at which time the applicant will have the opportunity to comment regarding matters and answer any questions. It is at that point that I will open the floor to general comments from the public regarding planning cases before the Commission. I ask that you direct your pertinent comments to the Commission through the chairperson and not the applicant, staff, or individuals within the audience. I would also appreciate your cooperation in making your statements brief and to the point, as I may exercise the prerogative to confine public comment if needed. There is a 5-minute interval per person, and surprise, we're changing the agenda order in order to hear PDP 17001 first. Yes. Yep, exactly. I was making the opening statement. Sorry. At this time, I would like everyone to stand for the invocation. Pastor Bob, thanks for coming this evening.
Let's pray. Our Father, we come to you this evening and thank you for the opportunity of your grace and mercy in our life. And we thank you, dear God, for the privilege of being able to serve you in various capacities. And so, Lord, we just ask your blessing upon this proceeding this evening. We pray, Father, that in all things that you might get honor and glory and praise. And we pray for those who are unable to be here. Especially, we know that one of the commission members has been ill, and we just ask your touch and your healing upon him as well. We pray, dear God, again, that this evening that you would be in charge of all that we do and all that we say, that you get honor and glory. We love you, we thank you, and we pray all this in the name of our Lord. Amen.
Please stay standing for the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vicki, can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Rutherford?
Present.
Commissioner Rankin? Absent. Commissioner Roberts? Absent. Commissioner Dusky?
Here.
Commissioner Zurcher?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Dreves?
Here.
And Chairperson Yater? Absent.
If the Commission has reviewed the minutes from the February 13th, 2017 meeting, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Vicki?
Commissioner Rutherford?
Minutes.
Commissioner Dusky?
Yes.
Commissioner Zurcher?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Dreves?
Yes.
Chance to get settled in, did they?
All right. Are there any public announcements? All right. As promised, we will hear PDP 17-001, Stone Ridge Townhomes first. And Joe, when you're ready.
See one.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners. Again, the request by Stone Ridge Land Investments for the preliminary plan for 43 cluster unit townhomes, approximately 6 acres, located at the north side of Goodnight Lane and west of the community center, zoned R2PAD. The first Stone Ridge master plan for 3,053 residential units on approximately 2,000 acres was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on August 10, 1998, and approved by Ordinance 472. In 2004, a developer requested a revised master plan and rezoning to relocate parcels for multifamily and higher density users closer to the core area at the south side of Old Black Canyon Highway at Stone Ridge Drive. In 2004, developer requested a revised master plan and rezoning, again to relocate the parcels. Again, as shown here south of Old Black Canyon Highway. The number of the allowed multifamily units remained the same, but some smaller lots intended for attached townhome products were replaced with some various larger lots in demand at the time. The total number of residential units was reduced by 221 units. The revised master plan and zoning was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 12, 2004, and Ordinance 593 was approved May 27, 2004. The approved master plan identified the subject parcel for 88 multifamily dwelling units. On February 23, 2006, the Council approved a final development plan for 106 senior family units that were never developed. In January of this year, the applicant and owner submitted an application for a preliminary development plan for 43 cluster unit townhomes on the subject parcel. This was being a reduction of 63 residential units from the original plan, from the previous final development plan, and a reduction of 54 units from the approved master plan. The plan shown here indicates a project with 32-foot roadways from the back of rolled curbs, and which would allow for parking on 2 sides. The primary entrance is at the east end of the project, which is about 175 feet from the clubhouse entrance. Sidewalks are on one side, as is the town standard, and provides access from Goodnight Lane through the project. The plan utilizes a combined driveway entrance for a group of 4 cluster units in order to better fit the land and parcel configurations. Subsection 1319.060M of the Planned Area Development Code allows that, with approval of final development plans by the Town Council, the PD overlay district may be applied to an area of the development, and that strict application of the requirements of the underlying zoning district may be tailored to provide flexibility in design, density, and development requirements of the approved final development plan, provided the plan does not adversely affect the intent and purpose of the general plan or the surrounding property. So again, the plan is shown here is a reduction from the original 88 units on the master plan, and from the original the last final development plan, which was 106 multifamily units. A neighborhood meeting was held by the applicant on February 9th, 2017, with all property owners within 1,000 foot having been notified by first-class mail. It is reported that 19 property owners attended that inquired about the issues that were listed in the attached minutes that were included in your packets. Staff supports this request, as the proposed use is consistent with the General Plan 2025 designation of medium-high density residential. Single-family units are allowed in the R2 PAD district, and the PAD will allow for flexibility and quality design with approval of a final development plan. The zoning land use are appropriate at this location. Staff recommends approval of PDP 17001, subject to the conditions in the brief. along with adding a suggested recommendation D, that final parking and driveway configurations as part of a final development plan will be approved by the code enforcement officer and fire marshal, and the FDP approval will include language that the town will not be responsible for enforcing any parking constraints on private property within the development. With that, I'm available for any questions, and the property owner and applicant are also here.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
No.
Questions of the owner, applicant?
At this time, then, we'll take public comment. Okay. Very well.
Now it would be proper to ask the developer if they would like to make comment relative to the application. Afterwards, you can entertain questions from the commission, then you should open the floor.
Okay. Very well. Commissioners?
Not at this time.
Okay. We'll open up the floor now for comments. Come up to the podium.
I'm Nancy Chagru. I live about 4 lots down on the other side of Goodnight Lane. I'm concerned about this from a number of standpoints. First of all, some of your schematics don't really show how low this development sits from Goodnight and from the alley, which is behind Rego Ranch. And that it is surrounded by Goodnight on the south and I believe it's the Clipper Wash on the north. When we first moved here, it was even labeled as floodplain, but I don't believe it's floodplain classified anymore. This picture, which you see right now, does not show the elevations. Right now, when you go up Goodnight Road, it's pretty steep, and you cannot see what's at the top of the hill, which is just where people would be coming out. Why would they be coming out there? Well, at the neighborhood meeting, we were told that the developer intended to close off the southeast entry to the Loop Road for emergency only. And thus it would be the west entrance at which everyone would come in. They would be coming out up a rather narrow ramp-type road because this land is so low, and then popping out onto Goodnight when the drivers that have been coming up that hill can't really see them. In addition, at about this time of the afternoon, the drivers coming up that road are pretty much blinded by the sun. So we consider that a very dangerous thing, and we think that the entire loop should be open to traffic so that this won't happen. Secondly, there's a concern about the width of the street and how, if it's 32 from the inside of the curb, but the actual drivable width of the street is 28 feet. And so if you have parking on one side and you have emergency or garbage trucks coming in, it's going to be pretty tight. And I think that is a concern because the driveways in these little clustered townhomes do not allow someone to park on the driveway, or else they would stop someone from getting out of their garage. So any visitors pretty much have to park on the street. And if they were not parked on the street, they'd have to go out into the neighborhood. The alleys are, which they call service driveways, are not allowed to have people parked in them, and they haven't been able to park on Goodnight either, which is a good thing considering the visibility. So parking's a concern. Let's see, roads, parking. What was my third one? I can't hear you. Well, just the general safety of it. As they have the sidewalks set up, the sidewalk on the western entrance to the development, you can see that it stops about 60 feet from Goodnight Road. And so people walking would have to go up onto this narrow kind of ramp type road to get out, and when it's the main way to get in. So safety is a definite consideration, and we hope that you'll take a deeper look at this and come out and visit and see how it is set down so low from the street that it's going to cause some problems. Questions?
Questions? Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Glenn Hornberger, and I live on the corner of Rigo Ranch Road and Goodnight. And I back up to the alley right at the bottom left corner that you had up here. And I want to know how tall these buildings are going to be compared to the community center. Because I bought a view lot there and I paid extra money for, and I don't want to have it blocked.
Okay.
And I was told it would not be any taller than the community center.
Okay, let's get an answer. Joe, I'm sorry, I did not see you.
I'll leave that for the developers. Wanted to point out, clarify that again, the main entrance would be on the east side, as indicated here, which again is about 175 feet from the clubhouse entrance, and the other westerly would be a secondary fire access, which would be proposed to be chained off, so that wouldn't be on a regular entrance there. Just wanted to clarify that configuration.
Hi, Corinne Shaw. I live on Rigo Ranch, which is one of the homes facing the site. So I have a wonderful view of the dirt. I love the dirt. I have a question for you then. This picture here that we're seeing is the access road, the yellow access going from Stone Ridge in. Is that an access road? Okay, what is this? Where's your clicker? Okay, so the lines in yellow are not access. It is just a definition of the boundary. All of the sites in yellow, are those roads? What are those?
The heavy line is the boundary of the site, and this is where the trail is. I believe the trail here, and these are, I believe, are drainage easements through there.
Okay. So can we go to the other map?
No.
Yep. So where is the entrance on this map?
The primary entrance would be here again, and this is the trail here, and then got another 80 feet to the entrance into the clubhouse. So you got a total about 175 feet from that entrance over to here. And this is a secondary fire access, which would be chained off, just used for emergency access only.
So wait a minute. So if I understand this correctly, on the meeting that we had with the community, those two entrances were reversed initially.
You can ask. Yeah, you should ask the developer if that change that has happened.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Yeah, hold on. Actually, hold on, please. Hold on. In terms of let's follow proper procedure here. We'll finish public comment, and then we'll invite the applicant back up and then have them speak, okay?
Okay, so here's my question. I understand now that the primary entrance is 175 feet beyond the community center, where you indicated right-hand side of the map. Don't give me north and south. Don't confuse me. So the chained off secondary exit is down by the far right side where I am above that on Rego Ranch. So as I see that, I look down, the chained off exit is first, the primary exit is next, the community center, and then, so it has been, from my understanding, it has been changed and reversed since the original discussion with the homeowners. If that's correct, then I understand where the primary and the secondary is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
You'll need to use the microphone.
Okay, do you have another copy? All right.
Yeah, hello. I'm Diane McDonald. And I gave you the printout of that map there to help make it a little bit clearer as to where our main concern is for that area. And even though, as we might hear it now, that there's been a flip on the entrance, that the entrance is no longer marked in blue toward Rego Ranch. It is flipped with down below across from the street called Stillness.
I do not believe that is the case. Can we get
Now that's
the developer to answer that one question before we continue?
okay. Well, actually, the main concern, the biggest concern, let's put the cherry on top, and that cherry would be Good Night. Granted, down by the clubhouse, an entrance, an exit, fire truck, an emergency vehicle, private to these homeowners. No problem. It's when you involve anything up here at the top of Good Night. This Good Night is a steep climb. It's very steep. The sun is straight in your eyes. You're accelerating your car coming up, which is another problem. And as soon as you're at the top, people are going to be coming in and out up there. You're going to have to slam on the brake. This appears to us as an accident on the way to a happening. We're hoping. We're not here to complain about the development itself. What we're hoping for is utilizing exits, access roads, creation of roads, driveways, whatever you want to call them, that have a potential 88 cars only coming in this community from Stone Ridge Drive. If they do come around the clubhouse onto Good Night, that they enter down closer to Stone Ridge Drive. We have a large park here, children, dogs, dog walkers. I mean, we have a lot of foot traffic activity with people due to that corner park. To have all these cars having to drive by that corner, we just don't see the logic. We don't. And if you took a drive over there and you saw that the entire development that is wanting to be built there, that lot is, I'd say in parts, in places, 20 feet down. It's a 20-foot recessed kind of a floodplain, if you will, even though it might not be called that any longer on record. That's exactly what it looks like. So to fill that much property just to have what at the top of the hill? An emergency entrance for a fire truck? Why? Fire truck could enter numerous different areas off of Stone Ridge or even behind the community center, the street, which is supposedly the walking path. It's right opposite the road called Stillness. It's I don't want to use the word paved road, but it's that blacktop. They call it a walking path, but it's wide enough for a car. You follow it all the way through, and it comes right out onto Stone Ridge Drive. To tell you the truth, a sidewalk around any driveway can be completed. Why that walking path has to stay as a walking path, the width of a car, when you could make that an entrance or one of the multi-exits for safety? God forbid any kind of fire or any serious incidents. We do understand you need one way in and another way out, just in case. But involving Goodnight and that hill and the way the drivers are, with at the base of that hill at the bottom is a park, kids, dogs, walkers, the whole bit, very active. Makes no sense with the added traffic that we're going to have right here in that corner. As many of these cars cross Old Black Canyon and come into our community, can we cut the traffic?
Thank you.
Because that's exactly what we're developing here. Is not just homes, we're developing congestion. Okay.
Understood. Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? Okay. At this time, I'd like the developer to come forward and answer a couple questions for us. Good evening.
Hello, my name's Tom Lowe with Univest.
The first question is about the driveways. Which driveway is going to be the access and which driveway is going to be the extra for emergencies?
We, at the time of the community meeting, hadn't had any feedback from fire department or anything, so it was undetermined at that point. But at this point, it's been decided that the east entrance would be the primary entrance.
So the one closest to the clubhouse?
Yes.
Well, and the height of the buildings?
16 feet.
Okay. Very well. Does that answer all the questions posed?
16 feet. It depends on where we are in the development. At that end, no.
After moving forward.
Say that again?
Ma'am?
Oh, no, it will not.
Ma'am, I really need you to come up and approach the microphone to ask your question. It's okay. That way we all can hear you.
We're understanding the homes to be 16 feet, single residence. I mean, single family. I mean, that's logical. However, I know what's concerning Glenn is in the farthest corner here. That is the. Do I have it right? Is that the west corner? Going this way on the map. It's at the west end, farthest from the clubhouse.
Yes.
Okay. So if the main entrance and exit is right behind the clubhouse off of Goodnight, why is there any need to have any emergency exit or entrance up that hill? Because once you have to make an exit or an entrance up there, emergency or otherwise, you have about 20 feet of fill dirt to bring that area to the height of the road of Goodnight. And now that 16-foot height of a home that Glenn is concerned about, for all intents and purposes, is plus 20 feet. Because it's...
Well,
see what I mean?
Ask.
Okay.
The secondary access is a requirement of the Central Yavapai Fire District. When there are so many homes on access by one road, they need to have a way to get in a secondary access, so that's a fire department requirement.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Okay, back to that little drawing I gave you. You could see where written in is a driveway down there by the club center, the clubhouse, the community center, the whatever. That walking path literally could be used as a driveway out directly to Stone Ridge Drive, or a driveway could be built literally along the lines of the driveway coming in from your turn in from Goodnight. That driveway could practically go straight out to Stone Ridge Drive as well. We're trying to understand, the owners here, all the homeowners here are trying to understand why any entrance, exit, emergency or otherwise, needs to be at the top of this hill. That's our only concern. That actually is our only complaint. It seemed a lot at the last meeting, at the HOA meeting, that we were upset about development, period. That's not the case. It's, you're going to develop, appreciate our values, ain't that nice? However, there's a nice way to do it for a community, and then there's a congested way to do it, or even a non-safe way to do it. We're trying to keep the cars towards Stone Ridge Drive instead of all this madcap driving up this hill. Now, granted, if that's only an emergency vehicle, well, that kind of fill and that kind of development and raising those homes 16 plus 20 on its height, technically, that doesn't justify a driveway just for a once-in-a-blue moon, if ever, fire truck, when a fire truck could enter or exit almost 3 different areas down towards Stone Ridge Drive.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parker.
I'm compelled to make some remarks. One, Goodnight Drive is a public street. Those are owned by the residents who reside and pay taxes in the town of Prescott Valley. That street's intended to be utilized for delivering traffic to any development. The likelihood that, again, taking another driveway access on the Stone Ridge Drive is fraught with hazard. That is a collector standard roadway. That's the reason why there's a separated median as it goes back towards town. So suggestions like that are really out of school. That's not something that would be considered. The other thing that is important is the fire marshal has a standard that regards primary and secondary access. If there is not a secondary access, there is a requirement for emergency fire access. That is a requirement of the fire code. In this case, they are proposing to utilize the best access to the property, which is closer to the clubhouse as opposed to up the hill that's being suggested. But it is imperative and absolutely necessary by the fire marshal to have that emergency access. There are other emergency such accesses off of public roads in Stone Ridge. The most recently approved townhouse project, which is near the golf course clubhouse, also has an emergency secondary access off of a public street that's chained, that is a elevation above the houses that it serves. It's not something that they would necessarily want to use, but the remarks about having problems with traffic and congestions interior to the site is the reason why they have to have an emergency access route.
Thank you.
In helping us decide how we move forward, it's important to us to get input from all the residents, particularly folks that represent the community at large. We happen to have Mr. Patton, who is gracious enough to volunteer for the HOA board. I'd love to get his comments and feedback on this, as well as Mr. Dusky's, since he lives in the community. Thank you.
My comments are about the same as you heard, Mr. Lowe. I concern myself with the amount of traffic there. I don't know what the answer is other than to reconsider these recommendations or whatever. I know that some of that can't be done, Richard, but maybe there are some other things that could be. I don't know what kind of access control you're planning from the, I'll call it the driveway, your on-site street. What kind of access control is planned from that street to the public street? And that could have a bearing on something. The other thing is, it's been mentioned a couple times about drainage. Perhaps staff can enlighten us on that. I would assume that that's something that's been addressed, with the application. The access to that street is important, and it's a with 88 garages and the potential of, I don't know, what do we use for an in and out daily per car? Richard, can you enlighten us on that?
A single-family residential house you would use in a retirement facility, you would use 6 trips a day when you're doing a calculation on something like this. These are something different because they're intended to be vacation homes, so it may not necessarily be at the same height, but there is an ITE standard. Your question, Commissioner Dusky, regarding the town's standard to access a public road is based on an AASHTO standard. That's a federally promulgated standard which would create a stop condition. One of the recommendations from staff is that the town engineer work with their engineer to make sure that there is a design that's presented that meets the concern that may be a deceleration lane. I doubt it based on the number of trips, but certainly the stop bar, the necessary turn arrows, and those kind of things to direct traffic in and out of the site would be prudent. And that's typically something that is done on an administrative level and is proposed to you as we've done in the past, and that is it's to be addressed as part of the final development plan submittal when the final engineering is brought forward to the town engineer. That's typically the way we've done it in the past, and it seems to have worked well.
Okay, can you address the issue of drainage? Do we know?
Yes, the drainage, there is not an area affected by floodplain that's being proposed to be developed here. There is a wash corridor to the north, which will either be maintained or graded in a capacity very similar to what you've seen throughout Stone Ridge. If you don't do it in that fashion, there's a federal standard regarding a 404 permit, which I'm sure that they would try to stay away from. If they build in a wash corridor, they would have to do a CLOMAR. That's a conditional letter of map revision, which would revise the floodplain, and then follow up by LOMAR, which is supporting engineering that shows that you've addressed the flood condition so as not to impact properties on site or, more importantly, those down site by increasing the velocity of runoff through the site. In this case, there is not a 404 permit because they are not adversely affecting the wash corridor to the north.
Is there, while we don't address parking and so forth on a private street or driveway, can we address it in terms of when we're talking about these engineers talking to each other, and maybe that can alleviate some of the problem, the concerns that people have?
Sure. It's been represented, and I listened to the presentation, and there's 32 feet of drive space, including gutter pans, gutter to gutter. The town's minimum standard is 24 feet. At 24 feet, you can park on one side of the street. So in this case, that aspect of the plan exceeds the town's standards. It also exceeds the fire marshal standards. At 20 feet, they require that there be no parking on either side of the street. So at 24 feet, there would be parking permitted on one side of the street. The other is there is an issue that staff brought to light regarding a driveway configuration to the property to the north east. And you can see there are 4 units that have joint driveways that provide access to those units. The zoning administrator has expressed, and the stipulation that Joe proffered as part of his presentation is, I think, a good way to address, and that is they need to show how that's going to work, maybe show examples of where it's going to work to hopefully assuage Mr. Gonzalez's concerns, and his remarks or recommendations would be incorporated into a final development plan. I know that the fire marshal expressed some concern about that component of the plan as well, regarding regulating parking in that portion of the plan, and we don't want to be in that business because they're private roads. So I believe that the language that has been represented would address that issue, and that's the only issue that the staff presently has with this plan or design.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Lowe, I can tell you that you certainly have the right to build your units that you want to build on that property. It's zoned correctly, has been, and is. And you're not asking for anything that's terribly unusual there. I like the concept of the townhomes. I would prefer that they were built within the master association, but that's a personal opinion. From the commission standpoint, I see no reason that these should not be built. If the engineers can get together, and if Tom, you'll work with that and try to address some of the concerns that these people have. I mean, if you think about it, you know, you've got all these accesses and egresses daily. That's a lot. And some of the things they're talking about, going down by the park, you know, the things that they have to do in this plan. So with your consideration in that also, I think you could alleviate a lot of the concerns of the residents. And with that, I don't have any further comment. It's a valid project, and he has every right to build it.
I appreciate your feedback, Mr. Dusky. Would Mr. Patton mind coming and giving his feedback and comments and input? Appreciate it.
My name's Dick Patton. I'm on the HOA board, and I just came to listen. I did have one question when Mr. Scott was talking about the number of units. It was my understanding there would be 44, and he stated 43, so I don't know which one it is. But either one of those numbers is better than 106, so I would have no objection other than the HOA dues objection. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, if no one has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
It's proper first to close the floor and then see if there are any additional questions for the commission. The commission has of either the staff or the applicant, and then you would entertain a motion.
At this time, I'd like to make sure that there are no other comments. Are there any questions further from the commission?
Looks like they're going the green list right now.
I would just like to say that we like the idea of many members being towards the
At this time, I'll entertain a motion for PDP 17-001, subject to the following conditions. Approval by the Town Council for the final development plan in accordance with the Town Code. Article 13 through 19 for any development phase consisting with the preliminary development plan. All development shall be in conformance with Town Code regulations, and installation of public improvements and dedications as required by the town engineer.
Vice Chair, I just
And
want to
D?
add, we do want to add that additional D condition, final parking and driveway conditions. As part of final development plan will be approved by the code enforcement officer and fire marshal, and FDP approval will include language that the town will not be responsible for enforcing any parking constraints on private property within development. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Vice Chair, I make that motion that we approve PDP 17-001, subject to the conditions aforementioned.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rutherford,
Aye.
Commissioner Dusky,
Aye.
Commissioner Zurcher,
Yes.
and Vice Chairperson Dreves.
Yes. On to our next public hearing item, RP 17-001, Norminda-Fiesta Lot Combination.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners. As shown here, the applicant's request for version and plat to combine Prescott Country Club Lot Unit 6, lots 131-32 into a new lot 131R. The owner wishes to build a detached garage on lot 132 to use in conjunction with the existing residence on lot 131. The lots must be combined so that the garage is on the same lot as the primary residential use. The new lot 131R conforms with the R1L 12 PAD zoning district. Staff recommends Commission approve RP 1701 and forward to the County Council. Have any questions? I'm available.
Questions?
No.
No. Move to approve and move to the council.
I'll second.
Commissioner Rutherford,
Yes.
Commissioner Zurcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Dusky,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Dreves.
Yes. Next item on our agenda, RP 17-002, Patriot Disposal on Valley Drive Lot Combine.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners. This is a request by Patriots Disposal regarding combining lots in Prescott Valley Business Park, lots 9A, 10A, and 11A. Over the years, separate buildings were constructed on individual lots for different uses. All the subject lots are now owned by Patriots Disposal and used for their business. Combining the lots into one larger parcel will eliminate internal lot lines and bring the site into conformance with the M1 zoning district standards for the allowed use. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve RP 1702 and forward to the Town Council.
Madam Vice Chairman, I have a potential conflict of interest on this. Therefore, I will remain to maintain the quorum, but I will not participate in the discussion, and I will abstain in the vote.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Not for me. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Vicki?
Commissioner Dusky,
Yes.
Commissioner Zurcher,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Dreves,
Yes.
Commissioner Rutherford,
Abstain.
Our next item of business, RP 17-003, Levi Prairie Lane Lot Combine.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners. This is a request to combine Prescott Valley Unit 16, lots 6751, 6752, and 6753, new lot 6751R. The owners wish to use a vacant lot 6751 in conjunction with the primary building and use on lots 6752 and 6753. Combining the lots in one larger parcel will eliminate internal lot lines and bring the site in conformance with the C3 use district and the intended use. And staff recommends approval of RP 1703 and asks it be forwarded to the council with a recommendation of approval.
Commissioners, are there any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval, Madam Vice Chair.
Second.
Vicki?
Commissioner Rutherford,
Yes.
Commissioner Dusky,
Yes.
Commissioner Zurcher,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Dreves.
Yes. Our next public hearing item for this evening, ZOA 17-001, Chapter 14, Street Design.
Thanks, Vice Chair and Commissioners. This is a request of the Community Development Director. This is a zoning ordinance amendment to subsection 14-03-030B3 of Chapter 14 subdivisions in order for town standards to correspond to standards of the Century Up by Fire District regarding street cul-de-sac diameter standards. As amended by CYFD Board Resolution 2016-09. The amendment will make standards for cul-de-sacs radiuses the same as that adopted by CYFD, with an exemption for substandard diameter cul-de-sacs if no parking signs are posted. The amendment will also remove that the Community Development Department is responsible for allowing deviations from turning and backing up standards, and that could be something that could be implemented by the fire department if they wished. And with that, staff supports the request and recommends Commission make a motion to approve ZOA 17-001.
I so move.
I'll second. Vicki?
And Commissioner Rutherford,
Yes.
Commissioner Zurcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Dusky,
Yes.
and Vice Chairperson Dreves.
Yes. The last agenda item we have for this evening was the election of officers. And as per tradition, since we're not all here tonight, I move to table that until our next meeting.
I'll second that, Madam Vice Chair. Do we need a vote on that? Yes, we do.
Aye. By acclamation, aye.
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 Yes. All right, call to public. Consideration and discussion of comments from the public. Those wishing to address the Planning and Zoning Commission need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date.
Thank you very much, Matt. Anything else?
Move for adjournment.
Meeting adjourned.